Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. It is time for another Spooktober video yet again, and for today's Reading Reddit episode, we will be diving into some petty revenge, Halloween edition. Okay, so our first story was posted by I Am Your Couch. No more egging houses for you. So on Halloween, some assholes used to think it would be a good idea to throw eggs at houses around my town every year. One year this was happening, I overheard at school that some dicks were planning on doing this on the night of Halloween. Perfect. I should mention that I do airsoft, and for those who don't know what that is, it is a competitive sport that is kind of like paintball, but the pellets are plastic. I have a fully automatic airsoft gun. My plan is about to come in effect. Skip to Halloween night. I'm waiting in my back garden, which has a fence just low enough to see over, but not low enough that they can see me in the dark. Around 30 minutes pass, and I begin to hear what sounds like eggs being thrown at windows. I check my airsoft gun's magazine and then load it. As soon as I see them wind up their arms to throw at my neighbor's house, I took the safety off, put a little pressure on the trigger. Ratatatatatatatata. I see them jumping. I was shooting at their feet to at least attempt to not hit their eyes. They all drop the eggs in the street and run. No eggs have been thrown at windows on Halloween since. TLDR, kids throwing eggs at houses, so I shot them. Okay, so I actually like this one because, you were shooting at their feet, so that way you wouldn't blind these kids, and honestly, they deserved it. So good for you, OP, because your plan worked and no one has since thrown eggs ever since you did this. So good job. Let's move on to our next story. This is another short one. This was posted by Outrageous Bat 3754. Halloween Scare. 30 years ago, I was working as a volunteer actor in a charity haunted house. It was a major production in a big city, not just a couple low-budget rooms. My role was to lie face down on the ground in one of the first rooms, acting as if mortally wounded and crawling away from the rest of the tour. Moaning and muttering, turn back. Enter some drunk kids, laughing and talking loudly about how lame things were. A couple of them seemed to think I was an animatronic, and this might have been reasonable due to the lighting. However, they took it too far. One of them aimed a pretend kick at my head, missing just by a couple of inches. I did not react, keeping in roll as they walked past. When they were at my waist, I rolled over and up into a sitting position right next to them and roared my best. Arrgh! Triple take, triple scream, hands and knees up in a defensive posture, then practically running out the "it's too scary" exit as a group. So satisfying. This is a pretty funny one. I love this. One commenter said, hope they were wearing their brown underwear that day. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. So this was posted by Controversial Jelly. My amazing girlfriend's Halloween revenge on demanding neighbor mom. Ooh. My girlfriend loves to bake. She's not the best out there, but her treats are always tasty and made with love. Every Halloween, she goes all out, baking spooky-themed goodies for all the kids and parents in my neighborhood. Last year, I'd had a new neighbor move in a few months before, and I guess they'd been told about my girlfriend's baking. New mom came around, asked to speak with my girlfriend who was there at the time, so they chatted for a while, and my girlfriend filled me in after. This new mom was obsessed with her kids' diet. Wanted them on a low sugar, low carb, and a bloody flavorless regime. She even asked my girlfriend to replace sugar with manuka honey and sneak some veggies into the treats. And guess what? She refused to cover the extra cost because in her mind, only her kids were special enough to deserve such treatment. Batshit crazy. I would have just told her to jog on, but not my girlfriend. Halloween arrived and my girlfriend was in full baking mode, playing the Nightmare Before Christmas soundtrack in the background and baking up a storm. She crafted cookies shaped like witches' fingers and pumpkins, taking extra care to make them as sugary and flavorful as possible. As the neighborhood kids started trick or treating, my girlfriend was her usual delightful self, showering compliments on costumes, acting scared of the scary ones, and handing out her sugary treats with glee. Then came the moment we'd all been waiting for, the arrival of the new neighbors. With their mom in tow, my girlfriend handed the kids a little bag of chopped carrots. But here's the kicker. Inside those bags were notes that read something like, "These should match all of your dietary requests. Mom's name. Hope they like them. In case anything changes, there are extra cookies filled with sugar, and I'll be happy to share." About 15 minutes later, the kids returned with their dad. I didn't go to the door. Trick or treaters are strictly my girlfriend's domain, so I'm not sure exactly what was said. I do know that my girlfriend and the dad shared a good laugh, and both kids and dad left with a handful of those sugary, flavorful cookies. I guess pettiness is a dish best served with cookies. Oh, honestly, I think this was kind of sweet. I mean, yes, you did get your petty revenge on the mom for being somewhat of an a-hole, but I'm pretty happy that the dad does not agree with her and the kids got those yummy cookies from your girlfriend who actually, honestly, seems like a keeper. Okay, so I absolutely loved that story, but our next one was posted by Sleepo People. No Halloween party for everyone? Okay, we'll make our own. I just heard this story from someone I work with, not a coworker of mine, but the director of a partner organization who we will call Evelyn. Evelyn's organization, a community nonprofit that provides behavioral health prevention and treatment services, is located in a desirable and tourist-focused area of the state that has a wide disparity in income levels. It's the kind of place that everyone wants to live in, but only a few can afford to. You'll find enclaves of rich folks living in luxury, surrounded by neighborhoods of poorer folks, many of whom work in the service industry serving the rich locals and tourists. Pretty sad. 5 or 6 years ago, she heard that every year, one local homeowners association in a wealthy area threw a banging Halloween party for the kids with lots of free candy and fun things to do. Sounds great. There was just one problem. Only the mostly white kids whose families lived in that HOA were allowed to attend the party, and the HOA was very strict about it. One side of this neighborhood is bordered by a public park where both kids from the HOA area and the surrounding tourist streets, comprised of mostly Latino families, play together. For their Halloween party, the HOA set up barricades on their side of the park to block kids from the other side coming over, and even had adults stationed around the perimeter to keep the non-HOA kids out. What this ends up looking like is unfortunately nothing new. The richer white kids have their own exclusive party and the poorer kids of color get nothing, even though the rich folks have plenty to share. Of course, the homeowners association isn't legally obligated to let people who don't belong to their homeowners association attend their party, but ethically it's a pretty gross move to exclude children from a Halloween celebration in their own neighborhood just because of what street their family can afford to live on. Now, being the director of a nonprofit that serves mostly lower income people, Evelyn is very passionate about the inclusion. So when she heard about this, she was not happy. She is the kind of person who will do anything in her power to correct an injustice, no matter how small, so she went directly to this HOA to complain. She wrote emails, attended public meetings to talk to them, anything she could to try and convince them that it was unfair of them to be so exclusionary. But unfortunately, the homeowners association wouldn't change their minds. They just kept on reiterating that these other families don't pay HOA dues, so we're not letting them into a party that is paid for by those. So Evelyn thought, fine, if these fuckers are gonna keep gatekeeping, then I'll have to step up to fill in the gap. So her nonprofit started holding their own annual Halloween party, an even bigger, better one, where everyone is welcome. Plus, they give out the best candy. At first, mostly the poorer kids who were excluded from the HOA party attended. But soon word got back to the other kids about how awesome this Halloween party was, and they started wanting to go as well. Now, years later, even the HOA kids would rather go to this party than the HOA one, and after attending both parties, they tell their parents, the neighborhood one was kind of lame. I like the organization one better. Their annual Halloween party has gotten so popular locally that starting this year, they'll be throwing a December holiday party too, and as always, everyone is welcome. And OP added a note. I may not have been clear in the way I described the park situation. The Homeowners Association did not block off access to the park, just the street on the side of the park that was in the Homeowners Association area. All the kids could still go to the park. The HOA just put up a barrier between the park and their street. The number of comments accusing me of race baiting for acknowledging that in the US, non white people generally experience poverty at higher rates than white people is sad. But unfortunately, not entirely unexpected. The harsh reality of the racist legacy and present of this country is hard to understand for some people. If you'd like to learn more about why it's so common for people of color to be clustered in less desirable / wealthy areas, such as in this story, I suggest reading about the redlining. Honestly, I don't think this is petty. I think this is very sweet. I mean, props to Evelyn. You are a good person, definitely. Yeah, so also I'm so happy that almost no one wants to attend the Homeowners Association party anymore. Rich privilege, am I right? Alright, so our last story for this video was posted by HHHHHD5. Cut me in line, get sticky, treat or tricky. Happy Halloween. This one happened pre-pandemic, but I was just reminded of it last night. My biggest pet peeve in the world is when someone cuts me in line. It doesn't matter the situation. Grocery store checkouts, traffic, bathroom lines. It makes me seethe with rage. Usually, if I can, I'll call the person out and ask them to move to the back. But I'm not a very intimidating looking person, so most people just ignore me or have an attitude. And because it's such a big pet peeve of mine, I will go pretty far to enact some very pretty revenge on line jumpers. With a Halloween weekend, I went with a group of friends out to different bars, and as expected, there were some long lines to get in. I witnessed a group consisting of 3 guys and 1 girl hop a nearby brick fence and try to shimmy their way in front of the group in front of me. They were promptly denied skippage until the girl of the line jumping group got involved and got angry and whiny at the others for not letting her in. She seemed a little unhinged, so I assumed that's why the group in front decided that it wasn't worth the fight, and ultimately they wound up letting her group skip. I was not okay with this, but I didn't want to cause a big scene either, and I knew the bouncers didn't see or care on such a busy night, so I waited until we got inside to seek revenge. The place was kind of a mixed bag. There were people dancing as well as people standing and chatting with their drinks, but it was all back to back, crowded, and a tight squeeze to maneuver through. I saw the girl from the line cutting incident dancing and flirting with one of the 3 guys who cut with her. It would have been too easy to walk by and accidentally spill my drink on her, so I took it a step further. I waited until she got her own drink, and then I grabbed an abandoned cup that someone had left on a ledge nearby, which was filled halfway with some fruity, sticky drink. I then walked over, passed by her, feigned by pushing by the crowd, and knocked into her hard. Her drink went everywhere, all over the guy she was flirting with and on both of their shoes, and my drink went down her back. I dipped out before she could even turn around to see who had banged into her, and then watched her from the sidelines as she gathered her whole group and stomped out the door to leave because her night was ruined. I then rejoined my friend group, grabbed my drink, which I was glad I didn't have to waste, and we enjoyed the rest of our night. Happy Halloween. Okay, so this was extremely petty and honestly harmless. I mean, you didn't hurt her physically, you just kind of ruined her night, which she honestly deserved. And Congratulations to you, OP. But anyway, those are all of our stories for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys on our next Spooktober video.